Oh, hello again, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for visiting once again. And back we are to the Corsair. As you know, we're doing Fleet Air Arm Corsair, which will be an FG1A. I'll tell you why it's an FG1A in a minute, and we'll go into a little bit of additional detail on that. But I suppose I ought to give you a bit of history to start with, which is that I tried a couple of days ago to make a video about this, and I had a catalogue of disasters for one reason or another. The dog wanted to go out and started making a load of noise as I was about 10 minutes into shooting a piece, and then the phone rang after I tried to have another go, and then I was looking for a sprue that I needed to pull some things off to do the next bit of what I was going to do, and I couldn't find that. So there was a 3-minute patch of dead air whilst I was wandering around the modelling room swearing and so on and so forth, and so it was all a bit of a disaster. But so let's show you where we've got up to anyway, and in amongst the miniature disasters. And so as you can see, the wing root tops have been put on, and also I've put the supercharger and oil cooler ports on as well. These were the things that I was looking for in the sprue that I couldn't find, and I did then subsequently find. So hopefully we can get through all of this with the minimum of interruption. So just so that you know, I'm not going to put any more detail into these wheelbays. The detail under here would be good to put in, but the wire would be so thin it would be very difficult to do, to be quite honest with you, because a lot of the hydraulic lines that come out of these little valves here tend to go in obtuse right angles and do all sorts of different things. You'll be able to see that from my video of the underside of the Fleet Air Arm Corsair that I went and looked at the other day. If you haven't seen that, then do take a minute to go take a look at that. It's about 30 minutes long, but it's a walk round of the entire outside of the aircraft. I hope you won't mind me plugging my own videos there. And so anyway, look, I have put the wing tops on and done all this. I've also done my thing with the Mr. Surfacer to pull out some of these lines, and hopefully when I prime this up then it'll look reasonably good. But today what I'm going to do is to put these two sections together. Hopefully we'll be able to achieve that fairly easily, and go through one or two other little bits and pieces during the course of the time that I have allotted to be with you today. So thanks very much for coming back, and welcome aboard if it's the first time that you visited. Thanks very much to people who are subscribing and by so doing saying to me, look here Zinners, we like what you do, and I'm very much obliged to you, so thanks very much indeed for that. So let's get at it, shall we? So this I've test fitted, and zero out of it. Oh, there we go. I'll throw that on the deck there. So that's always a good thing to do, isn't it? But as I say, I have test fitted this, and this fits in well, pretty well, to be honest with you. What I have found is that there is a very slight, and it is very slight, mismatch between the right at the front side here, between the bottom part here and the top part, but it is only very, very slight. So hopefully that's not going to impinge upon things too much. But I think once this goes together and and all this gubbins goes on, it doesn't actually show all that much, so we're not going to be able to see a great deal of that, and the eye will be focused somewhere else. So really speaking, once this is done, only you and I and the rest of the English speaking population of the world are going to know about it. So let's get on with it, shall we? So what I'm going to do is, I had some thought about this, and in this particular area, I'm at the front here, I'm going to use the white glue. I'm going to prepare myself with a little bit of tape as well to start with, so that I can put this tape on fairly quickly if I need to. There's a few pieces, 3 or 4 pieces here, and we'll keep the tape dispenser close at hand. But what I'm going to do here is just run a bead of glue around here, and then stick that onto the top, onto the bottom of that there, and we'll see where we go, see how we go with it. And just very carefully use a bead of glue here. I'm doing this because I think there may be some slight gaps, and extra thin obviously doesn't fit particularly well where there are slight gaps, and I want this bond to be reasonably good. Well, actually I want it to be as good as it can be, so let's make a start. So I'm just going to check this little gap in here and there are more or less equal, and they are. And also, now I don't mind if I get a little bit of, as you can see, there's a bit of glue drip over there. I don't mind that. That's not really a problem, I don't think. And so what we can do is we can look up under there and make sure we get that as circular as we can. I'm just going to have a quick look underneath the magnifier for a minute. Yeah, that looks okay there. Let's pull that up out of the way there. And I'm going to hold that for a second. And then, for now anyway, I'm going to tape over the top here just to hold that in place. What we can then do is just go to the extra thin, because that's going to be a closer gap in there. That's just a little bit over. I was a bit overzealous with the glue there, so we'll anoint that there, flip that over, another little shake, just a little too much there, and do the same there. There is a little bit of a gap there, but actually that's not going to be a problem really from any perspective, because I can fill that gap and then the glue will wick across that gap quite happily. So that's all good there. After this bits, then it's over the top here on the top of the wing roots, and that job is made easy, as I've said before, because these wing roots come out at 90 degrees to the circular section, so there's very little in the way of fillets to put in, and what fillet that there is, which is to say not very much, as you can see just here, there we go, it's gone onto the macro lens, will be suitably covered. So I will just point out one thing here. You've been able to observe that small gap there. If I go to the front of this, you'll see that there is a small gap there as well. So this whole thing is twisted slightly. Now it's quite odd, and I haven't been able to work out why it's twisted slightly, but it is. So what we'll do, I'll just tape that in there. And tape that in quite hard. Quite a lot of pressure on that. There we go. But it's to say it's slightly, yeah, see that's dry now, so I can tape that in too. Again, pull up the pressure there, and then we can leave that overnight to harden off. And the other thing I can do is just anoint some glue in there. Too much again, and I'm going to put some down there too, but as you can see the brush disappears there. You can see that, I think, and you'll see this at the front as well. Just see a bit too much glue on that brush there. There we go. So there'll be a little bit of filling to be done, but as I say, even with this slightly twisted down that way and down that way, it's actually not going to be noticeable in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to be okay with that. I think it won't, as I say, you won't be able to observe that very easily, and that will be pretty firmly fixed when it's, as it's been done anyway. So you'll have to imagine, by the way, I didn't say this earlier, that I put these on rather than me showing you, which I wanted to do, but there we go. So it makes this video perhaps a little shorter than it was going to be, but it's important, I think, to show just these major steps going in, and to be honest with you, actually, really how easy they are. I think I'm tempted, actually, just to put tape around here, just to put some tension on the wing roots there. I think that's what I'm going to do, actually, as it goes. I'm going to use a long piece of tape like this, and then just flip that over the top there and do the same thing here. So I just want to put just exert a little bit of, just a little bit of tension on that, just to keep that under pressure. So we can leave that overnight to do its thing. It does, I think, prevent me from actually dropping this wing section in. Well, I can actually drop it in and show you how these fit here, but I'll do that in a second. So let's go back to housekeeping again and do them up. So right, that's that bit sorted. These wing sections, as you may remember, this is now completed with the clipping of the wings. I'm in a bit of a quandary as to exactly how to put the lights in the corner of these, the flying lights, one red, one green. Not really sure how to do that. The red light, by the way, is on the port side, the green is on the starboard. There should be a little red port left after dinner, also goes the expression, a little red port. That's how people remember it, I believe, but I shall resolve that for you all at some stage. As you can see, I've covered around the stall block and so on, and pretty much of the work on the seams here is done. So putting these in, by the way, is a bit of a trick because they fit where they touch and they don't touch in many places, so you have to do a bit of fitting. Now, it may be different for you, but in terms of putting these in myself, the place where I found the fitting problem was actually within this little root here. So this is the channel through which that spar fits, and everything was being pushed essentially up this way towards the camera, and so what I did was opened out the bottom of this just a little tad with a sharp knife, a sharp pointed knife, and just scraped out a little bit of material. And what I found then was that this fits in very nicely, and I think it's critical to get this top section absolutely right if you can, because that's the bit that everybody's going to see, and if it's all over the place it won't look good. So as you can see, that's that one there, and the joint, if you get it right, will virtually disappear, pretty much disappear. As you can see, it looks pretty good, that I'd say, but of course you be the judge, and on the other side hopefully it does more or less the same. As you can see this stands slightly proud on this side, but not too bad, and as you can see, again, the joint virtually disappears. Now if we go underneath, there's a little bit of a gap, but I am going to fill that in, and then I'll use my Mr. Surfacer trick, or I'll use Mr. Surfacer 500 because it's a lot more gloopier, thicker. That's the expression I was looking for. Thank you very much, someone in modelling land, for shouting that word out at me. It's almost like I heard you, wasn't it? So there we go. So they're looking all right, I think. Again, you be the judge. And we'll have ourselves a model aeroplane before we know it. So the other thing I'm going to do as well is, because this is an FG1A that I'm going to do, so it's a 431, a KD431 type variant, then the F4U1Ds had this little step in them, in the inboard flap, as you can see, and it goes through both sides. As you will have seen from my film, the starboard flap on the FG1As did not have this, so I'm going to remove it, and all I'm going to do with that is I'm going to fill it up with putty, and I might as well do that while I'm here. So let's just zero back out again. You've got just a little bit of visual interest whilst I mess around with putty. I'm going to use some of this Tamiya stuff, which seems reasonably good for the job. I know it's going to shrink back a little bit, but I think that ought to be plenty there. What I'm going to do is I shall put a piece of tape over one side of this and then fill up to that. There we go, you can see what I'm up to then, can't you? So, small piece of tape, that's the upper side. I'm going to put it to the lower side, and I might as well put it on straight, and that will probably make it somewhat simpler. Mask up to there, and find some sort of dibber to put that in with. I'll use a cocktail stick. That'll do it, I think. I haven't got a spatula type of thing. I suppose I ought to get one, that would be the thing to do, I guess. You see how quickly this stuff dries? It's really very rapid. Just a little dab of this in there. Looks pretty messy at the minute, I grant you. Alright, there we go. So what we'll do is we'll let that dry off, and the next time we meet, then I shall have completed that job and sanded that out clear and straight, and we can then start to put the main wings on, and I will show you that. In fact, I'll show you the gluing of all that, and what we use is, I think, white cap cement on the spars and so on, so we'll do all of that stuff, and then we'll put the flaps on, and we'll at some stage have a crack at this undercarriage and putting some little bits of wire on there, and some lead wire. I'll use, I think, 0.3mm lead wire, 0.03mm lead wire to go down to the brake line into the wheel there. I think that's probably the best way forward, and there we are. So slightly less activity this time round than I had anticipated, but more than perhaps I was going to get the previous evening or a couple of evenings ago, where everything went sadly very, very wrong. So look, thanks for tuning in once again, and for having a little look here. Do please take a look at the DP872 Fairy Barracuda on the big rebuild at the Fleet Air Arm Museum. I'm shamelessly plugging it. I think it really deserves it. It's a long project, so it's going to take a little time before we see results on it, or before the Fleet Air Arm Museum sees results on it. But do take a look. I've got a little 4-minute video, which it's not one of my best videos, but it puts one or two of the points together that are quite important. But as I go through some other videos, what I will do is do another talk about on it, and you never know your luck. I might do another live, and I might talk a little bit on that as well at that stage. So look, in the meantime, thanks very much for tuning in once again. Really much obliged to you. And if you like what I do, hit that like button. Share it, subscribe. Thank you very much if you feel fit to do so, and I'm very grateful to you if you do. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys all on the next one. And thank you once again. Cheers for now. Bye bye.